Maayong hapon Pagadan City ug tibok Zamboanga del Sur. Magandang hapon. Buenos dias Zamboanga Peninsula. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Hatay mga hudang muslimin. Welcome sa isa na namang episode ng Kapihan sa Rehiyon 9. Hatid sa inyo ng Philippine Information Agency Region 9. Ang programang ito ay nagsisilbing plataforma para sa iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno upang kanilang mailahad ang mga programa at serbisyo para sa taong bayan. At sa hapon na ito ay atin pong pag-uusapan ang mga paghahanda na ginagawa po ng ating gobyerno, mapa-national man yan or LGU, para po bilang tugon sa El Nino at mga ang epekto nito sa ating rehiyon po. And of course, inaantabayanan po na tayo lagi ng ating mga viewers, kaya po manatili po kayo nakatutok dito po sa PIA Western Mindanao Facebook page kung saan po live po tayong mapapanood. Makibahagi po kayo by sending us your comment in the comment section. Live din po tayong napapanood sa lahat ng PIA Provincial Facebook pages. And of course, naka-cross-post din po tayo sa Pagadian City and Zamboanga del Sur Media. Of course, naka-live hook-up din po tayo sa Radyo Pilipinas. Ang dami nating live. And of course, gusto po nating pasalamatan ang ating Barangay Information Officers Network na lagi pong nakatutok sa atin kasama ang ating mga online viewers at ang ating media friends from all over Zamboanga Peninsula. Kasama po natin ang ating media friends from Pagadian City, live po dito po sa studio. And wag na po tayo magpatumpik-tumpik pa. We would like to welcome our honored guest for this afternoon. Thank you for being with us. We have the Regional Director of the Office of Civil Defense o OCD. We have Attorney Ruel Halanes. Attorney, magandang hapon po.
Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.
Yes po, Attorney. Baka meron po kayong gustong batiin man lang before po tayo pumunta sa ating Q&A.
Yeah, una gusto kong pasalamatan yung mga nandito ngayon, and then ikalawa sa mga umantabay at syempre yung Philippine Information Agency para mabigyan ng pagkakataon yung opisina, yung Office of Civil Defense, para makapagbigay linaw lalo na po ngayon sa hinaharap natin. Though we have some ongoing hazards, but tignan natin dahil base sa mga siyentista, meron tayong ini-expect na El Nino o yung sinasabi natin na pagbabago ng ating climate condition, and around 92% mag-i-emerge ito, mafe-feel na natin yung epekto niya kay month of June. And yan po yung isa sa pangunahing purpose natin ngayon, bakit nandito tayo para sa itong hapon na ito, para sa tinatawag nating kapihan, and hopefully makapagbigay linaw kami sa mga katanungan kung ano ba talaga ang dapat ginagawa at ano ba talaga ang ini-expect natin sa panahon na merong El Nino.
Yes po, Attorney. Can you walk us through, Attorney? Ano po yung current situation, El Nino situation ng Region 9 sa ngayon po?
Ang current na situation natin ngayon, kung titingnan natin sa scientific side, tinatawag yung El Nino Southern Oscillation or ENSO. Si Pag-asa, minomonitor yan o yung ating warning agency, and based doon sa nakikita nila, merong matinding pag-init sa tinatawag nating sea surface temperatures, particularly dito sa may bandang Eastern Pacific. And then etong pag-akyat ng sea surface temperature, magdudulot ito ng pagbabago, anomalya sa tinatawag nating temperatura, na siyang magti-trigger ngayon na nakikita nila na 92% magkakaroon tayo ng El Nino o yung tinatawag natin na pag-init ng ating panahon, lalo na pagdating sa month ng June, July, August. And dahil nga sinasabi ni Pag-asa sa atin na this is a very strong El Nino, hindi ho ito kapareho ng mga previous El Nino, mas malakas siya, it will persist until early part of 2027. So gusto ko lang banggitin na yung El Nino, climatic situation yan. But ibig sabihin, hindi yan siya day-to-day na pagbabago ng panahon because that is weather. So yan din yung kailangan nating linawin dahil sabi ni Pag-asa, while magkakaroon tayo ng El Nino ngayong mga Hunyo papunta ng first quarter or first part ng 2027, yung pagkakaroon ng pag-ulan, pagbagyo, patuloy pa rin yung mangyayari. Ang gagawin lang ni El Nino is i-intensify. So meaning, magkakaroon ng pag-iiba. And later on, malalaman natin yan. Ano yung mga sinasabi natin pag-iiba. Ngayon naman sa paghahanda, sa usaping kahandaan, yung ating paghahanda sa national, nandyan na yung guidance ng national sa atin para maghanda sa mga rehiyon. Sa regional 9 naman, or sa region 9, Zamboanga Peninsula, dahil nga tayo yung chairperson ng Regional DRM Management Council, nakapag-conduct na ho tayo ng pre-disaster risk assessment. Yung PIDRA, isang mekanismo ho yan na ginagamit ng ating pamahalaan para titingnan natin, masituate lahat yung mga local government units, mga line agencies, kung ano yung ine-expect natin kapag nandiyan ang El Nino. So, we are employing the so-called worst case scenario, yung mga scenario build-up, tinitingnan natin ano yung epekto niya sa agriculture, sa health, sa energy, sa peace and order, or even at the water security. So, dito sa Zamboanga Peninsula na nagawa na natin yung ating PIDRA, and then meron na tayong mga karampatang action na ginagawa at the LGU level.
With the advent of this El Nino, meron po ba tayong projection kung which areas of the Zamboanga Peninsula yung most likely would be hit hard po?
In specific, kung titingnan mo siya doon sa binigay na projection ni Pag-asa, very unique. Because etong buwan ng Mayo, makikita natin, even ngayon, nafe-feel natin, makakatanggap pa tayo ng above normal na pag-ulan. Sinasabi nila na magkakaroon tayo ng El Nino as early or around month of June, pero nandyan na siya nagmamanifest. Kaya ngayon, makikita natin, the entire region, the western part of the country, will receive a high amount of rainfall. And then, kapag pumasok na yung habagat, mas i-enhance pa niya. Isa yan sa epekto ng El Nino. So, yung mga medyo mali na pag-aakala natin dati na kapag sinabing El Nino, wala na talagang ulan. No. Kapag meron ho tayong El Nino, climatic condition yan, while pagkakaroon ng ulan is more on the weather. So, ngayon, sabi sa atin ni Pag-asa, part of our countries will be having very minimal amount of rainfall, no? Particularly sa Luzon, pero tayo dito, lalo na sa buwan ng Mayo papuntang June, dahil may habagat na prevailing, magkakaroon pa tayo ng massive na amount of rainfall. Mas i-enhance pa ni El Nino. Ngayon, kung tatanungin natin ano yung mga areas na practically talaga makaka-feel ng El Nino, usually talaga yung entire stretch ng ating region, no? With special mention yung mga areas, like for example, Zamboanga del Norte, Zamboanga City, dahil kung titingnan natin ngayon yung ating mga heat indices, doon nagmamanifest yung matinding pag-init. So, kung titingnan pa natin yan sa malaliman na situation, pagpasok ng mga bare months, doon na natin mafe-feel na talagang ninipis na talaga, or we will be below normal average rainfall. So, ibig sabihin nun, yung matinding init na yung papasok. But expectedly, for the month of May, June, and July, may ine-expect pa tayong pag-ulan dyan. Though meron ng El Nino or yung dry condition in some parts of our country.
You mentioned kanina na ito yung pinakamalakas na parang magiging hardest hit po sa atin na El Nino. So halimbawa dito sa ating agriculture sector, sa health natin, sa ating water system, ano po yung posibleng maging epekto nitong magiging malakas na El Nino?
Yan. Scientifically, bakit sinabi nilang very strong, or in fact, sinasabi na iba strong El Nino? Dahil nga yung anomaly, yung pagbabago ng sea surface temperature is very high, no? Around 2 degrees Celsius if I'm not mistaken. And according to Pag-asa scientists, ito yung trigger or ito yung mga indication na tinitingnan nila na it will have a very strong El Nino phenomenon. Ang isa sa pinaka visible na napo-foresee nila is yung prolong na instead na yung El Nino, lilipas lang siya and then magta-transition na siya ulit in the normal situation. Dahil nga meron tayong tinatawag na very strong El Nino, magpipersist siya until early of 2027. Now, looking at the possible impact, so syempre, yung epekto kasi ng El Nino, yung pag-init, nahahati sa tatlo. Yung tinatawag nating dry spell, dry condition, and drought. So, nakunod, kung magtuloy-tuloy talaga or magkaroon yung base sa forecast, yung drought as the yan yung pinakataas na classification. So, around 2 to 3 months na makaka-experience tayo ng below normal na walang pag-ulan. So, ibig sabihin ng below normal, kung nakakatanggap ka ng ganitong ulan, but dahil may super El Nino tayo, magkakaroon tayo ng around 3 months. So, kung biruin mo kung 3 months wala kang ulan na matatanggap sa isang lugar, then you can foresee. On agriculture side, syempre, titingnan mo yung cropping season, vegetation stage. So, matatamaan yan. On water naman, hindi lang sa agricultural side, but even the potable water. Lalo na yung mga indigenous communities natin or even yung mga geographically isolated areas natin na very dependent dun sa limited source of water. On health-related, isa yan na kino-consider natin dahil hindi lang sa usaping farmers and fisher folks itong El Nino. Even tayo, mga constituents, mga residents, or even workers, apektado sa ganyang situation. Ang tinitingnan din natin na isa sa pinaka-critical consideration is the food security. And mind you, and we want to take note na ongoing pa rin yung crisis natin sa usaping fuel and energy. So, we are now dealing with the multiple hazard, and then kapag nagsama-sama ito, magiging challenging, kaya dapat as early as now napiprepare, napoforesee na natin. So sa level ng farmers and fisher folks, dapat alam na nila yung magiging planting method or magiging planting timeline nila. At the same time, yung mga farm inputs and implements, nakukonsider na rin yan. Sa mga offices naman, tayo, lalo na sa mga opisina, private or public, kinoconsider na rin natin kung ano yung magiging remedy natin to provide cooling system doon sa ating mga workplaces. At the individual household, very critical talaga, ina-expect natin yung pagkakaroon ng challenge ng ating tubig, both in the potable at the same time on agriculture. Health, very common yan, mga health-related diseases. Though minomonitor natin yan, yung mga common, yung naririnig natin, heat strokes and other allied heat illnesses. Even public safety, tinitingnan na rin natin. On the side of the energy side, isa rin na kinoconsider natin kasi alam natin, trigger din yung pagkakaroon ng pagtaas ng temperatura or El Nino, yung epekto niya sa energy part naman.
With all this, na-mention no, lahat ng mga ill effects, parang mukhang magiging severe po ito. So ano naman po yung mga intervention, specific intervention na tailored fit doon sa specific na magiging effect doon sa specific din na sector po?
Yeah. Yun nga, dahil dun sa ginagawa natin na pre-disaster risk assessment, ang iniiwasan na natin dito, yung mga learnings natin in the past that government or even private entities or even household, nagkakaroon na lang ng paghahanda sa panahong nandyan na yung El Nino. Sa panahong natutuyot na yung mga source of water natin, yung ating agriculture side, nagkakaroon na ng heat stress or reported heat stress. So ngayon, ang ginagawa natin, we divided the approach. We follow the DRM thematic area. No, halimbawa, sa agriculture, led by Department of Agriculture, Region 9, tinitingnan na nila ano yung mga prevention and preparedness side. Kasi, alam natin, as early as now, this is the better place to prepare. Like, for example, mga insurances, pagkakaroon ng mga buffer stocks kung kailangan, particularly on the farm inputs. Same with the DNR, kasi sila naman yung lead ng water security. Tinitingnan na rin nila yung tawag neto, yung status ng ating mga watersheds, yung mga ganyan. And then, the National Irrigation Authority, because they are more on the irrigation implements, tinitingnan rin yan. On the part of DOE naman, last time nag-usap na kami and we presented to them the possible scenario. Kasi kung naalala nyo dati, nung nagkaroon tayo ng El Nino, nagkaroon tayo ng rotational background. I being the chair, yan talaga yung una kong tinanong, are we expecting that scenario? And accordingly, sabi naman ng DOE Mindanao Field Office, and quoting with them, na based naman sa current nga source capacity or kayang ibigay based doon sa pinoforesee nila, we will not be having that scenario. Dahil nga, bastante pa yung source ng energy natin. Pero, it is still at the level ng ating mga electric companies kung paano nila ibabalance. Kasi we want also to consider na meron tayong mga fuel-based energy sources, meron din tayo mga renewable or naturally source. So, kailangan na lang pag-aralan yan para at least yung escalation ng price mabigyan pansin. So, ang sabi naman, dahil nagkaroon na tayo ng mga series of blackouts ngayon, kung may mga ganyan, it's more on the infrastructure side. But source-wise, as the DOE, they can, based dun sa prediction and forecast nila, we have still enough buffer or source para hindi magkulang. Sa health, same pa rin. They are moving now with the DOH kung paano ipiprepare yung magiging guidance nila with their counterpart at the province para sa preparation ng anyang mga instance.
Sa ano naman po, sa part po ng ating LGU, how prepared are our LGUs all over the region? Lahat po ba ng ating mga provinces and municipalities, meron po ba silang updated na contingency plans?
Yeah, that's the better question. Ganito kasi in the previous, madalas dahil nga ang usually top hazard natin dito sa Zamboanga Peninsula is bagyo, ulan, landslide. Starting 2 years ago, we already drive the discussion na you also look heat emergency or El Nino trigger as part of your contingency planning. Kaya during the pre-disaster risk assessment, I already laid down the parameters. Meron na tayong guidelines na ibinaba. May directives na rin tayong binaba that all LGUs must able to update, or if not update, come up with their contingency plan on El Nino. And one of the critical consideration na dapat gawin ni LGU ngayon is to look on the resources, inventory, at the same time to come up with an El Nino team para mag-address, and then kung ano yung ginagawa sa region, dapat mini-mirror na kayo nila sa level ng LGU. Another thing, dahil nga daw isang region lang tayo, pero iba-iba kasi yung mga forecasted na impact. Like, for example, for a landlocked municipality, then magiging focus natin is more on the agriculture, the health, and the water. While kung combination ka naman, coastal and land, kailangan mo rin tingnan yung sa tawag na to, yung sa Fisher Folk side natin. So, yan yung mga ginagawa na ating mga local government units, and I just also want to inform everyone na yung ating partner, no, the immediate supervisor of the LGU, which is the DILG, nag-issue na rin sila ng kanilang karampatang memorandum para directing all the LGUs to start and to commence the preparation for El Nino. So far, ang ginagawa na namin ngayon is we move from the provision of guidance into aggressive monitoring and having some discussions with the local government units kung ano na yung mga ginagawa nila at their very level in preparation na itong sa El Nino.
Itong El Nino, hindi naman po ito bago sa ating lahat, no? Especially of course sa ating mga LGUs, pabalik-balik ng ating El Nino. So, bakit po kailangan pang, kailangan pang pagsabihan ulit, pabalik-balik na dapat maghanda? Hindi pa pwedeng nandyan na siya, tapos ready na lang for implementation sakaling pagdating ng El Nino phenomenon?
Well,
I-update na lang po nila.
yeah. That's the ideal side of governance. Pero alam naman kasi natin, in the local government side, not only in the local government side, even at the regional or national line agencies, we are built on the priorities that we have. No? Overtaken by so many priorities na ginagawa natin sa ating mga respective offices, the role now of the government is the effective risk communication. While we all know na natural na talaga na magkakaroon ng El Nino, magkakaroon ng bagyo, pero yung timing at saka yung urgency, yan yung kailangan nating ma-emphasize clearly at the local level. No? Like, for example, today or this year, we are saying na meron El Nino, pero what we are trying to convey here is to remove that iota or confusion. Kasi di ba parang ang pagkakaalam ng ating constituents, pag sinabing El Nino, automatic wala ng ulan. Pero bakit umuulan? Di ba? Parang ang nangyayari, saan kami maniniwala? But kung titingnan mo, El Nino is a climatic condition, we have still weather. So, ang gagawin ni El Nino, kung magkakaroon tayo ng habagat or yung panahon nating ulan, i-enhance niya. Another significant na nakikita natin na kapag meron tayong El Nino, bababa yung number ng tropical cyclones, yung bagyo. Pero bababa siya, pero ang mangyayari, i-intensify niya. Kaya sabi ni Pag-asa, we're expecting typhoon to super typhoon category na mga bagyo dahil nga meron tayong El Nino. Another thing gusto nating sabihin, though we want to say na dapat automatic reflex na ito on the part of the LGU, is that in DRRM, in disaster risk reduction, fast-moving yung evolution ng hazard. No? The contingency plan being developed, being conceptualized a year, may be not applicable or not as responsive in the next year. Kaya ang lagi natin sinasabi, we need to have that upkeep monitoring, and then kami, the Office of Civil Defense or even the PIA, kailangan talaga nating i-remind, kailangan talaga nating gisingin, i-agitate, to instigate, so to speak, yung ating mga local government units kasi ayaw nating maging complacent because culturally rooted, even sa mga bahay siguro natin, kung kailan wala na or hindi pa oras de peligro, hindi tayo gumagawa ng mga action. And in fairness doon sa ating mga warning agencies, Pag-asa is now providing us so much and very good data. Ang atin na lang ngayon kung paano natin maproseso, lalo na sa level ng mga local government units.
Thank you, Attorney, for educating us on that matter. At this point, let us accommodate questions from our friends media. We have, of course, first to ask, we have Mr. J. Apales of J Channel. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, RD. I'm very much concerned on yung pong sa LGUs natin sa Region 9. Kasi if you don't mind, could you give us some less, no? Yung mga LGUs na medyo kulang ang kailang support in terms of mga facilities of their own respective municipalities. Pwede ba siguro, do you have any name or mga pangalan ng mga municipalities medyo nakulang ang kanilang response, medyo walang ginagawa sa kanilang municipalities in terms of ito pong mga rescue facilities or
Yeah.
budget from the respective municipalities.
Yeah, that's a point to ponder also. On the part of the Office of Civil Defense, dahil nga yung focus natin, isa kasi sa mga devolved function by virtue of RA 1121 and RA 7160. Even nga, walang RA 1121, the General Welfare Clause is always at the behest of the local government unit. So, ang ginagawa natin sa Office of Civil Defense, year in, year out, we are conducting Gawad Kalasag assessment. And that Gawad Kalasag assessment is a statutory assessment wherein tinitingnan namin yung level ng compliance ng ating mga local government units. No? So much to say na kailangan kong mabigay, but as of the moment, the statistics speaks that kung titingnan mo yung 75 LGU, previously ito, with due consideration dahil yung Sulu kalilipat lang sa amin, with the previous 75 LGUs, ang namomonitor namin with the 2025 Gawad Kalasag, we've managed to document that there are 29 LGUs qualify as beyond compliant. Itong mga LGUs na to, when we say beyond compliant, they postulated, they made some DRM activities, programs to include facilities beyond what is required in the minimum standard or in the law. So, take note, that is 729 out of 75. While the 30 there is considered na matatawag nating fully compliant. Etong mga fully compliant, only a matter of points. They manage to traverse the requirement. They are functional, they are performing well. Yet, aside sa tinatawag natin na fully compliant, meron din tayong tinatawag na partially compliant. Around 12 naman ito. Etong partially compliant, ito yung medyo siguro kinulang sa documentation, no? Kasi documentation based naman yung Gawad Kalasag. That is one admitted limitation ng ating assessment. Pero kung titingnan mo based on the assessment, sila yung kinulang. While yung apat, no, which is matatawag natin na they fall below that partially compliant. So meaning yung statutory requirement minimum hindi talaga nila naabot. So ngayon, ang ginagawa natin on the Office of Civil Defense, we are looking on this aspect because sa sinabi ko nga, Gawad Kalasag is based on a document review and assessment. Pero kung titingnan mo naman, in fairness, kung pupuntahan yung mga LGUs na yan, like example, if you go to LGUs in municipality specs, when you go to Diplahan, CI, you can see that they are entitled to be called as beyond compliant dahil dun sa pinapakita nila. If you go to Isabela City, by their operations center alone, Dipolog, Dapitan, so makikita natin na they are part of that beyond compliant. So ang iba naman talaga, developing in progress. Sabi ko nga, nung pumasok ako ng OCD year 2021, I started campaigning, no? Aggressively talking with the mayors kasi minsan yung complacency, yung pa rin yung nagiging reason. And after 4 years, after 5 years, at least nagkaroon na ng changes. So, yan yung statistics na binibigay ko sa inyo ngayon because hindi lang talaga yan regionalized or region 9 na concern. That is a nationally accepted challenge in terms of DRRM. The so-called leverage, buy-in, and prioritization ng ating mga local chief executive sa usaping DRM. But so far, nakikita ko naman, very timely. Sabi ko nga, yung nangyayaring lindol, pagbaha sa mga ibang area, it will happen to Region 9. Matter of timeline na lang po yan. And hopefully, yan yung inaano natin ngayon para hindi siya ma-contemplate into that LGUs is not prioritizing that, but rather LGUs is learning. No? Minsan yung scale of learning, mabagal lang. No? Hindi sa mabagal dahil ayang gawin, baka overtaken with the priority. So yan yung nakikita ko na consensus on those LGU. Speaking from that statistics, 29 beyond, while meron pang 4 na even yung minimum requirements hindi natin na-met. So ganyan na situation.
Okay. A follow-up lang po, RD. Talking of Region 9, Zamboanga, Sibugay, Zamboanga del Norte, and Zamboanga del Sur. Even siguro Basilan City, under was Region 9, no? Basilan?
Isabela City.
Isabela City. Sa tingin nyo, talking of ito pong giving importance sa ganitong mga program, pwede mo natin ma-inform ating mga viewers, televiewers po, saan sa part ng Region 9 po itong pinaka-active po sa ganitong mga programa, talking of mga rescue operation, disaster operation. Dolsor, Norte, Sibugay, or Isabela City.
Yeah, sige. Para at least hindi naman maging monotone and then ma-perceive as LGUs are not doing. Tingnan natin doon sa capability and how they respond. No? When you say Sibugay, based on their kasi may liga yan sila ng mga local DRM officers, they are very good on capacitation. In fact, sila na mismo yung nag-organize. Ito lahat ng probinsya, meron na yung mga organisasyon ng mga local DRM officers and they are very lucky because they are supported by their LCEs. Ang pinagkaiba lang ni Sibugay, medyo malalim na yung narating nila. They are conducting training up to the level of the barangay. They are the one, capacity building naman. Kung titingnan mo naman si Zamboanga del Norte, they have also that capacity but they are more on capacitation on their rescue and operational capability. Meron silang mga equipment, sophisticated, meron din silang mga investment na ginagawa para dyan. Pagdating naman si Sur, kung titingnan mo, madalas nagagamit namin on the logistics sides. Nandyan naman si Zamboanga del Sur kasi in fairness, sila yung pinakamalapit. On Isabela City, ito ang talagang makikita natin na very well-rounded. They have their 24/7 operation center in terms of planning, nandun din. And then yung barangay capacitation nila, makikita rin natin. So, kung makikita natin, they have their strength. Hindi naman siguro tawagin natin weaknesses, but rather, they have areas na currently being improved. But in totality, no, even ngayon Sulu, pumunta ako doon, makikita ko ngayon yung receptiveness, yung willingness ng province of Sulu is very welcoming to us. So they are very willing to listen kung ano yan natin pwedeng gawin. So ang ginagawa natin ngayon, I always invite other provinces to learn how Sibugay doing the training with their organization. And then I ask also them to learn how Zamboanga del Norte managed to consolidate all the mayors na suportahan yung kanilang mga activities, no? Kaya nga sa amin dito, halimbawa, may mga projects kaming ini-introduce, madaling kausapin yung mga probinsya, no? Lalo na kapag may usaping lote kasi may proyekto tayo, hindi naman kasama yung lote. So, I can directly connect with them. And Zamboanga del Sur, ganun din. Nagkakaroon na rin tayo ng mga improvement in terms of how they propagate those DRRM. Ang kinaganda dito because ang challenge talaga namin ngayon with the latest is tinitingnan namin na malagyan na talaga ng struktura institutionally yung ating mga agencies, no? Merong mga designated na mga local DRM officer but what we want is the creation talaga ng dedicated office. Kasi alam natin kapag meron kang opisina, may tao ka talagang naka-allocate dyan, mas mabilis, no? And DILG agree on that. We are now moving on that and then for all we know, the governors, the mayors, the city mayors are very supportive on that aspect.
Okay,
Thank
thank you. Next to us, we have Elmer Maghanoy, Media Link.
Magandang hapon po, Attorney.
Yeah.
Ang itatanong ko lang specific sa Zamboanga del Sur. Saan ba dito sa Zamboanga del Sur yung mga lugar na delikado ba para sa baha, mayroong typhoon, bagyo, or lindol?
Okay, sige. More on hazard ito. Sige. Practically, regardless kung ano yung topography, geographic location ng ating mga local government units sa Zamboanga Peninsula, meron talaga tayong hazard. Matter of intensity na lang. Ang wala lang talaga sa atin dito is the volcanic hazard. Wag naman sana, no? Now, specific zeroing with the Zamboanga del Sur. Kung titingnan mo siya, pupunta ka talaga kung ano yung mga main tributaries. For example, for District 1, the Zamboanga del Norte in Bisaya, yung Tinubdan, pinanggagalingan ng tubig. Kapag nagkakaroon tayo ng pagbaha, bumababa talaga yan. Starting with Mahayag, tatraverse ng Mulave, and then punta ng Tambulig. And based on monitoring, there are certain parts or barangay in Tambulig na yung tubig umaatras na as far as Ramon Magsaysay. So, flooding yan. No? So, tinitingnan natin kaya may mga early warning systems. Pero aside sa flooding, may tinatawag din tayo mga rain-induced landslide. So, ano yung mga areas na yan? So, usually, monitor natin kung Zamboanga del Sur, yung mga landlocked areas natin. We have Dumingag, Municipality, and Suminot. Pagdating naman dito sa District 2, may mga tinitingnan din tayo dyan kasi may mga coastal area dyan directly facing or within the proximate ng tinatawag nating mga earthquake generators, no? The allied system ng ating mga earthquake generators, most prominent yung tinatawag nating Cotabato and Sulu Trench na pwede ring magkaroon ng pagyanig kung lindol ang pag-uusapan. But all this, no, last time na monitor natin yung mga areas, kung coastal community yan, may mga sea surges, nai-enhance talaga. Ang tanong kasi minsan dyan is not only about inherent hazard, meaning dahil mataas yung area, pwede na magkaroon ng landslide. There are also factors yung tinatawag nating environmental degradation. So ina-alter mo yung landscape, binabago mo yung topography ng lupa, siyempre hydrology will follow, yung flow ng tubig, so magbabago din. Kaya magkakaroon na rin siya ng pagbaha. Kapag nag-introduce ka naman ng development, mga kalsada, hindi mo properly side slope, so it will have a implication on a rain-induced landslide, na pag-ulan. So yan po yung mga sinasabi natin. And even dito, di ba? Kung napapansin natin last year, kung nagkakaroon ng malakas na pag-ulan, may area tayo ng mga barangay sa Pagadian na umaabot yung tubig sa mga kalsada. Yun naman is more on the runoff water plus combination ng tinatawag nating drainage system, yung absorptive capacity ng drainage system. But generally, kung exposure naman ang tatanungin, Zamboanga del Sur medyo secluded konti as compared ni Zamboanga del Norte. Kasi kung sa mapa, ang exposed talaga si Zamboanga del Norte. Time to time, kapag nagkakaroon ng tropical cyclone wind signal, ang nasasali along with other regions is the part ng Zamboanga del Norte dahil nga doon sa exposure level nila.
So, kung minsan ba, parang ang mga tao ba ma-confuse? Saan bang mas delikado? El Nino or La Nina?
Actually, it's not about more delikado. The correct question might be, saan mas hazardous, mas vulnerable or exposed yung locality mo? So, in the lens of a farmer, both El Nino and La Nina is very detrimental. Sa mangingisda, ganun din, di ba? In a lens natin ng mga empleyado, lalo na if we are traveling so much, exposed tayo sa field, mas critical sa atin yung pagkakaroon ng El Nino kasi heat temperature yan. Yung La Nina naman, kung nakatira ka sa lugar na alam mo na properly drainage or hindi na sa mabahaing lugar, medyo makakalesen ka sa tinatawag na vulnerability and exposure. Kasi ang tanong naman lagi pagdating sa DRM is the risk. So meaning yung risk is a combination ng iyong vulnerability, yung iyong exposure, and then over your capacity. So yan yung risk mo. So kapag hindi mo yan tinitingnan, no, nasa bahay ka, day in, day out, ang focus mo lang pagtatrabaho, hindi mo inaalam ano yung mga potential danger or risk. Kahit ano pa yung dumating, El Nino or La Nina, it will equate something. While ayaw natin sabihin na mas delikado ang La Nina or mas delikado El Nino, it always boils down on the level of preparedness. So ngayon, ang concern natin primarily is El Nino. So kung El Nino yan, ano yung mga dapat preparations? Ano yung mga potential risks? So for a vulnerable, exposed, PWD natin, yung mga old age na mabilis na lang pwedeng matrigger ng init ng panahon, magkakaroon talaga siya ng challenge. As compared kung ilalagay mo siya doon sa rainy na part. Pero kung nakatira naman yan sa mga lugar na mabilis bahain, may consideration yan. Dapat during preemptive pa lang or may announcement na pagbaha, priority din natin sila kasi sila yung pinaka-most vulnerable. So, parang yan yung pinaka-effective way of saying saan natin i-contemplate as to risk or danger between La Nina and El Nino. And again, babi ko El Nino and La Nina is one part of the so-called ENSO, the El Nino Southern Oscillation. So, ibig sabihin, there are parts of the globe na much heat, na tawag na to El Nino, and then while we are having that El Nino, there are also part of our globe now having that La Nina. So, yan po yung scientific side ng situation natin in terms of climate.
Sir, lastly sir, yung mga LGUs natin, kahit nasa barangay level is may 5% silang calamity fund. So sa atin dito sa Zamboanga del Sur, alam natin na nagtitrain na kayo sa mga LGUs. How about sa barangay, sir?
Yeah, that's a good question. That is also my latest guidance. Tama yon, ang 5% natin, dati calamity fund ang tawag yan. With the advent of Republic Act 10121, it is now called Local DRRM Fund or Local Disaster Risk Reduction Fund. No? 5% sa resources ng ating LGUs coming from the barangay, municipio, city, and probinsya. While kami sa region, the focus talaga namin is more on the province, cities, and municipalities because by virtue of that law, the barangay is within the purview of our local government units, local chief executive. Pero dahil nakikita natin, may El Nino tayo, may ongoing crisis, it will be now a question of how you exercise prudence or exercise measure para ma-maximize our resources. So, ang ginagawa natin ngayon ay we started the enhancement of capability nating mga local DRM offices para kaya nilang i-guide yung ating mga barangay. And the good way or approach there is for them to have an effective barangay DRM plan. Bakit? Dahil yung barangay DRM plan na yan yung magiging reason nila to use resources. Yan yung basic equation sa government. Hindi mo pwedeng gamitin yung resources mo kapag wala kang references. In the utilization of the 5%, that B-Dream plan is very critical. So, yan yung entry point ngayon. And then another thing, pinapatingnan na rin natin at the barangay level kung ilang porsyento sa mga pondo nila ang nagagamit or hindi ginagamit. Kasi, that 5% will not be return or revert to the coffers of the government. Ang mangyayari lang dyan, magkakaroon lang ng change of purpose. No? Within the 5 years, kung hindi mo magamit, magiging pondo mo pa rin siya intended for DRRM. After that 5 years, pwede mo na siya gamitan kasi magiging general fund na siya. Yan yung tinitingnan namin ngayon because we are monitoring. There are agencies or there are barangays na too much or surplus pa yung amount. So, sayang, natutulog. Kaya nga sabi ng ating partners with the Commission and Audit, every time na hindi mo i-utilize yan, that will be at the prejudice or that will be disadvantage to the clients or to the constituents. So, yan yung isa na tinitingnan namin ngayon and I encourage all the local chief executive, they can issue an executive order for that matter. Ma-review yung ating mga barangay DRM fund and then mag-guide sila, ma-assisan sila kung paano talaga siya ginagamit and paano yung proper charging in aid, lalo na ngayon, sa pagkakaroon natin ng ini-expect na El Nino.
Salamat po, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Sir Franco Angelo Bagaloyos, Kokoy Bags TV.
Okay. Magandang hapon po, sir, RD.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in regards po dito sa El Nino, kasi mostly daghan ang mga nangutana karon ba kay ang ato amang god karon, El Nino is taman pa siya for the first quarter of 2027. So, ang ila amang gungnahon na basta kay El Nino gani, basta in aron nga panahon na June, May, June, July, rainy na siya.
Yeah.
Unya, karon kay naa may advisory na to nga El Nino mo tong medyo na kuan sila, na bother sila kung sa June ang kuan. So mas maayra pud ni nga naata ani nga kening gipahigayon nga samaan ni para at least mahatagan sila og dugang pa nga kasayuran in regards sa ato karon. So now for the El Nino, sa atong mga LGUs or ato ang mga cities, RD, naka-create na ba sila og mga structural preparedness? At the same time, how about ang ato ang budget? Ani?
Yeah, that is a good question. Una, tama na, no? June, in fact, before yata mag-end itong month ng May, Pag-asa will declare the onset of habagat. Pero if you look at our neighbor, GMA, Japan Meteorological Agency, they are now saying na nasa habagat season na. But again, Pag-asa is our official outlet, official agency to declare. Anytime soon, i-declare na nila habagat. So, nandyan pa rin yung habagat, i-enhance lang niya dahil may El Nino tayo. So, ibig sabihin, when you say enhancement, anything na ano yung prevailing weather, mas i-intensify. Kung tag-ulan niya, i-intensify niya. So, ang sabi ni Pag-asa, kapag pumasok na yung bare months tag-ulan, ang legitimate or magiging plausible na implication is medyo uunti yung dami ng ulan dahil may El Nino, pero lalakas, mag-i-intensify. typhoon to super typhoon yung ini-expect nila na category. Pagpasok naman ng mga bare months, particular sa region natin, ninipis na talaga yung forecast na amount of rainfall. Unlike dati na miski bare months, umuulan-ulan pa paunti-unti yan. But expectedly, dahil may El Nino tayo, magkakaroon na tayo na tinatawag na below normal average rainfall. So, tama po yan. I don't, ano bang tawag yan? Hindi natin sinisisiyan kasi dati nung pinapaalam sa ating El Nino, the type of communication that we receive, basta El Nino, ano na talaga, init na na, automatic. No. Climate is an El Nino, weather is on the ulan, mga ganyan. Nandyan pa rin yan sila. Magkakaroon lang ng enhancement. Kaya lagi kong binabalik-balikan yan kasi I don't want to be sending a wrong message na hindi totoo yung El Nino dahil umuulan naman. Di ba? Hindi nagsasabi na totoo si Pag-asa or si OCD. But Pag-asa is saying na nandyan pa rin yung ulan, i-enhance lang niya. And then magkakaroon pa rin ng bagyo, palalakasin lang niya. And later on, makikita na natin na yung mga usual na dapat meron tayong ulan, mawawala na yan dahil nga meron tayong El Nino. Now, on the question on the LGU capacitation, structurally, we provide them the guidelines for the creation of the local El Nino team. Nandun na, may naka-assign sino dapat tututok sa food security up to health, water. As to resources, yan yung magandang tanong. Kasi minsan, yan yung magiging tempo, yung facing ng LGU, kung gaano siya ka-upkeep in the preparation. The guidance that I provided is that while embedded sa atin yung 5% kasi nahati into 2 eh. We have 70-30 ratio. So, meaning yung 5% hindi mo talaga magagamit yan throughout the year kasi magtitira ka talaga ng 30% intended for the state of calamity. Pero sabi ko, yung state of calamity, that is the last recourse. So, ang gagawin dapat ng LGU ngayon is una, to look other available resources. We have the 20% Development Fund, we have the LGSF, and then kung DRRM-related funds yung magiging focus niya, unahin niyang i-program yung mga unutilized in the previous years. Kasi we are monitoring, no, based sa report ni COA from 2022 to 2024, almost half lang ng ating mga Disaster Risk Reduction Fund or LRIM Fund ang nagagamit. So, iilan-ilan na siguro yung umaabot na 80%. So, kung tatanungin tayo statistically, resources is not a question kasi hindi nga nagagamit, di ba? So, ito yung dapat na pagtuunang pansin ni LGU. Tingnan niya yung ano yung mga pondo na dating part ng 5% na hindi nagagamit. Yun yung i-program niya. Pag kinulang pa talaga, the next recourse is yung nakaprogram niya na intended na mga 70% this year, pwede niya i-realign, i-reprogram kasi may impending El Nino nga. Ngayon, worst comes to worst, talagang hindi na kinaya, dumating na si El Nino, then by all means, after so much assessment, na satisfy yung criteria, then they can declare state of calamity because that's declaration of state of calamity will enable them to use the last resort fund, which is the 30%. So, yan po yung current na pinupush natin ngayon and medyo ano lang, kasi alam nila dapat ito, pero ang ginagawa nga, sabi nga nung tanong kanina, dapat automatic na ito. Nire-remind lang natin sila and then binibigyan ng leeway. Kasi ayaw natin na merong pondo pero apprehensive to use kasi baka hindi tama. Whereas kung nandyan na yung disaster, nandyan na yung crisis, ipupush na gamitin yung pondo dahil nandyan ang ipangailangan and ultimately, marami nang magiging question later on by the regulatory agencies.
Okay po. Thank you po, RD.
Okay, we have Richard Pano, Pagadian Plus News.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, attorney. By the way, I am Richard Prano from Attorney, can I have a question? How do school and public institution in Zamboanga del Sur respond to extreme heat caused by El Nino?
Ayan, this is a very good question also kasi captured audience natin yung mga eskwelahan and then we're expecting na school days or merong pasok na. Una, at the level of Department of Education, in place na yung tinatawag nila mga contingency plans. Meron na yan silang mga school DRM coordinators and even nga yung suspension ng classes nila, kasama na nila, in-integrate na nila. Na part yan sa evolution ng DepEd guidelines. Di ba dati nagka-cancel, nagsususpend lang tayo ng physical classes dahil may bagyo. Pero kung titingnan mo yung guidelines sa DepEd ngayon, nandun na naka-embed yung mga ganyang setup. And part of the context in the DepEd level, kapag may mga ganyan na sila monitoring, so much high heat index or masyadong mataas yung temperatura, they have already established the protocol and then they will proceed yung tinatawag nating alternative or alternate mode of learning, no? Online or module type. Pero ang inaano naman natin dyan on the part of the Office of Civil Defense, particularly at the regional level, we always involve them, we keep them on the loop para at least aware din sila sa mga projections. Because what we provide in the Office of Civil Defense is those likely scenario na pwedeng makaapekto. So dapat as early as now, sabi nga namin, very high time na ngayon yung Brigada Eskwela, tingnan na rin nila ng pansin yung physical features. Kasi kapag sinabi natin El Nino, yung cooling places, yung conducive conducive ng mga classrooms natin, dependent sa mga infrastructure side. So, but rather DepEd is also looking at that. But in terms of learning modalities, they are all have that type of setup. On top dun sa mga trainings na binibigay namin.
Thank you, Attorney. Nakoy follow-up last question, Attorney. What lesson can Sampin learn from the past El Nino experience?
That is a very good question again. And the lesson of Sampen is also the lesson of the national wherein dati-rati yung El Nino, tinitingnan natin siya in a very reactive side. Gumagalaw lang tayo, gumagawa lang tayo ng mga actions the moment na nandyan na talaga. Pero kung titingnan nyo ngayon, di ba, as early as month of February, March, nagmo-monitor na kami. Pag-asa is providing us some statistics na we are monitoring some anomaly on the sea surface temperature and then even now, aggressive na yung stand na propagation. Ngayon, yung kapihan natin, kung matatandaan last year, parang, the type of preparation that we do, while we have that preparation in the previous year, pero ngayon, taking on that lesson, and then siguro sa akin, as on the part of OCD, makikita ko ang pinaka-significant talaga is, the government now is looking El Nino in a 4 aspect of preparation. Prevention, mitigation, preparedness, and then to follow na yung response. Unlike nung previous natin na meron tayong experience na dumiretso tayo sa response, wherein kung napreparahan natin or we can make some improvement on how we mitigate and prevent, mas less disastrous siya or mas malesen natin yung pangangailangan. And hopefully, consistent tayo dyan because at the national ngayon, with the guidance of the President, they are about to activate the National Task Force on El Nino. Meron na tayong platform, by the way, yung tinatawag nating El Nino online platform. If you want to know ano na yung mga nangyayari in terms of El Nino, we have one tawag na ito, online platform. Pwede din kayo mag-report na sa lugar namin, grabe na init with picture, you can submit that. That is real time. DOST Pag-asa din, meron na silang tinatawag na iHeat map. So I invite everyone, kung gusto nyo makita ano talagang actual na heat temperature or heat index, you have that website na makikita ninyo, no? Si DA naman, meron na silang rice vulnerability map. Kaya na natin makita kung ano yung mga areas, mga palayan na possible na maapektuhan, lalo na tayo, no? We have the Salog Valley, the rice granary. So, yan yung binibigay namin sa LGU kasi yan din yung magiging guide nila saan yung magiging focus of attention or lens in preparation of El Nino.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Miss Cheryl Lerazan, Radio Bagting.
All right, good afternoon.
Oo.
All right, sir. Attorney, you've mentioned earlier na nag-release po kayo ng guidelines para sa mga LGU for the contingency plan ng El Nino. So, kumusta po ang mga LGUs? Are they preparing specifically the resources and the El Nino team? And na-monitor ba ito ng OCD including Sulu? And another question, ako na lang ning usahon, ano po ang long-term or sustainable solution for this issue?
Yeah, pahirap yung tanong. Unang tanong, SOP aside sa national memorandum circular na binibigay sa atin, we've issued the so-called El Nino precautionary measures, the detailing all the supposed action na gagawin ng mga LGUs, no? Ang nagiging impact niyan on the side of the local government units, they are now having some pre-disaster assessment. We are constantly monitoring. Last time I attended a workshop with all the local DRM officers in Zamboanga del Sur. We have Zamboanga Sibugay and about to contemplate na rin si Norte, including si Sulu. Kasi kailangan yan, una, we want to properly identify the hazard and the type of response kasi very minute yung resources na meron tayo. Take note, LGU now is having austerity dahil sa energy crisis. Idagdag pa natin si El Nino plus kung umulan pa, bumaha or bumagyo dahil nga nandyan pa rin sila. So, magiging challenge din yan sa level ng ating mga local government units. And currently, we are about maybe next week to have that monitoring again kung ilan na sa kanila nakakreate, nakapag-conduct ng pre-disaster risk assessment. Now, on the second question, the long term, tama po yan. Actually, yung EO na inilabas ng ating presidente and then ng ating DND with the NRMC, yung pagtatayo ng El Nino online platform is one of the long-term solution. Kasi ayaw natin na lahat ng experience, lahat ng data na na-collate natin will be buried and hindi na natin mabalikan. So yung online platform na yan is continuously up, magiging basis din siya, and then makikita din natin yung mga actions taken ng mga different agency. On the part of the OCD and the local government units, what we are promoting now is the coming up with a structured contingency plan na yung sinabi ni ma'am kanina na dapat automatic na lang ito pag sinabing meron na El Nino, they will just get that plan. Bakit win-work out natin yan? Dahil nga sabi ko kanina earlier, as I said, yung heat emergency or El Nino in the previous, hindi siya ganon ka, it does not occupy as top hazard ng ating mga LGU kasi nandun pa rin yung baha, bagyo, and landslide. Pero later on, no, nag-i-evolve na. No? Isa din sa tinitingnan namin yung transition. Kasi usually, kung naalala ko, yung El Nino dati, once in a blue moon, kung tawagin lang ito na phenomena. Pero kung titingnan mo, ang transition is very fast. The last time that we had is around 2023. Ngayon, bumalik na naman siya as early as 2026. So, yan po yung mga nakikita natin ng mga long-term solution. And then, syempre, sa ating mga programs, project, and activities sa mga LGUs, when they program that, it should always consider what? Local consideration on heat emergency. No, sa national agency, dapat kung magpapatayo tayo ng mga edifices, kasama na dyan yung mga energy conservation measures, mga heat-proofing mechanism, kasi alam natin, babalik at babalik yung magiging impact ng El Nino. And I hope on the part of the other areas of concern, Department of Agriculture, Department of Energy, DOH, no, the DNR, the DILG, kino-consider na rin nila yan kasi alam natin, ayaw natin na it will come up with a remedial measure and then later on kapag bumalik, mag-iisip na naman ulit tayo kung ano yung magiging next na approach. So, yan po yung isa. Though, in terms of long-term solution, it will require us a strategic approach. At the same time, will invest so much resources para mabigyan siya ng karampatan na talagang mukha doon sa local government units on top on the document lang na mababasa natin.
Okay, thank you. Bago ko tawagin yung iba, no? Singit ko lang, attorney, paano po sinisiguro ni OCD na yung ating mga early warning information talagang quickly and effectively makakarating doon sa ating mga barangay, especially yung mga far-flung areas po?
Ang ginagawa namin, we go where the rest of the group go. So, ibig sabihin, kung ano yung common na platform, no? Aside sa email, alam naman natin, nabibihira lang nagbabasa ng email. Pero if you go to the chat group, Viber groups, and other media messaging, nandoon sila. And then another platform, Facebook. So, ang ginagawa natin dito ngayon, we are having that cross-posting, the redundancy. Kaya yung PIA, na-appreciate namin. Last time, may na-monitor ako, na-i-post sa PIA. Maganda na infographics on the El Nino. That is very useful. And then, on the top of that, mga messaging, we are always implicating that or interjecting that in our talks. But primarily, ang ginagamit talaga natin is the short messaging, at the same time, the very prolific na mga social media messaging. And then, syempre, we always adhere to the protocol, to the ethical side, the concept na hindi tayo ma-misinterpret, no, yung combating against misinformation and fake news. So, yan po yung ginagamit natin ngayon, and then through operation centers. So, isa yan sa prominent pa rin na platform na ina-avail ng Office of Civil Defense para we can effectively communicate our early warning messages or EAWMs.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Florence Ofema of Bell FM.
Hello, attorney, mayong
Hello,
hapon.
may hapon.
Attorney, sa tuang hilisgutanan karon sa El Nino, pinaka-importante gid kayo ang preparedness and also the readiness ato ang kini nga katawhan. RD, do na ba plano ang inyong nga buhatan nga magpahigayon o demonstration drills or diba public orientation aron for the paunsa malikayan or kining mapreparan atong El Nino?
Yeah, that's a good entry point also. Kapihan is one. Because PIA is an active member of the RDREAM C9. So, last time na nagkaroon kami ng second quarter meeting, I asked their indulgence na matulungan kami. Ang ginagawa namin ngayon is a localized approach kasi alam namin mahirap pag-isahin yung mga agencies. We embed our discussion or El Nino sa lahat ng mga trainings. Kaya halos nandoon tayo nag-a-attend. And then also, nandiyan pa rin yung mga localized activities natin, even yung mga simulation and drills natin, ini-integrate na natin yung El Nino in that aspect. But sooner or later, same with how Pag-asa is doing, they have that climate forum. We will try to have that concept kasi nakikita din natin minsan yung availability, una yung sequencing at saka ikatlo yung targeting ng ating proper audience. So, as of the moment, yung pagkakaroon ng mga face-to-face activity is being considered, tawag na ito, kinokontrol natin dahil nga may energy concern tayo, may austerity measure. The most plausible actions, kung kayang i-dispense yung face-to-face is through virtual. But again, tama yan and Kapihan is a good entry point. Meron din kami mga meetings conducted along provinces and so far, workshop with leaders and provinces. And then yung usual namin na pag-iikot, yung tinatawag naming DRRM caravan with the local government units. So, lalo na yung mga areas na nakikita talaga namin na falling below on the assessment based on Gawad Kalasag, yun yung mga priority namin. And then yung mga areas na tingin namin, kailangan talaga na matinding pagbusisi, lalo na sa usaping El Nino.
RD. Next question, RD, is ano po ang RD? Ano ang kasalukuyang stockpile ng ating pagkain, mga non-food items sa iyong tanggapan at saka sa tanggapan ng DSWD? Sapat ba ito sa Region 9 kung sakaling lumala yung El Nino sa ating rehiyon?
Yeah, in terms of buffer stock, DSWD now increased the required buffer stock. Dati, at any time of the day, there are still 10,000. Ngayon, tinaas na nila yan, around 50 or 100 if I'm not mistaken. As to quick response fund, nandun din sa kanila, meron din sila nakalaan. And then, we follow the concept of assisting regions. No? Kapag kinulang yung isang region, automatic mag-augment yung sa region. OCD person naman, yung warehouse natin dyan sa opisina, meron tayong mga enough prepositioned na mga non-food items, and then we have also quick response fund on standby. So, ibig sabihin, we operate on the augmentation side. What we are now focusing more is on the capability of the LGU. Kasi alam naman natin, if it will be augmented, it will entail a number of time. Kasi yung stocks natin, ibabiyahe pa. Though we are doing some advanced prepositioning also. So, generally, we are above what is required to us in terms of buffer stock of food and non-food items. And then also our partner DSWD is aggressively prepositioning those goods in different LGUs. So yan po yung current status natin. And nakunod, DA also kasi meron din silang pangailangan in terms of buffering ng mga kailangang implements or any inputs for that matter. They are also doing and moving heaven and earth para ma-contemplate and ma-preparahan yung tinatawag nating El Nino.
Okay. Huling dalawang magtatanong, we have Kurt Estabas, Nong Lading Radio.
Yes, Saturday, may hapon.
May hapon.
My question is related sir. How does El Nino affect agriculture and food supply, and how do inactive LGUs impact community support during this period?
Okay. Tama, no? Agriculture and food go hand in hand. Kung titingnan mo kasi in terms of not only agriculture, not only on the pagkain, but rather the most common question there is the yield. Kasi ang iniwasan natin is pag bumaba yung yield ng ating mga farmers or even their capacity to produce, it will affect our food security. So, what we are now looking is the worst case scenario, yung mga tinatawag nating scenario case building na halimbawa, nagkaroon tayo ng energy crisis, which will shorten also or increase the prices of our farm inputs. Ano yung magiging preparation natin papunta dun sa ating mga farmers? In terms of water supply, kasi alam natin magkakaroon ng pag-init, so baka magkaroon ng challenge sa source. So they are also looking at that kung ano yung mga possible sources. Now, in terms of food supply, ang tinitingnan din natin dyan, on top of the yield, the crops itself, or the aqua fisheries, the livestock, the very farmers and fisher folks. So, yung welfare nila, kailangan din nating tingnan. Kaya yung mga insurances natin, di ba, kung may mga insurance yung mga crops natin, they must be enrolled para kung ano man yung disaster or crisis na tumama, yung shock kung tawagin, hindi siya ganun ka-disastrous, that will pin down the farmers. Kasi alam natin, kapag yung mga mangingisda and farmers talaga natin ang hindi na kayang mag-recover, mag-bounce back, it will equate to problem in our foods kasi sila yung main producer. So yan yung binabago natin na narrative ngayon na more than the protection of the crops, the soil, the fishery side, but rather also the welfare of our farmers. So malaking bagay dito yung mga association, yung mga kapunungan, organisasyon ng ating mga farmers and fisher folks. As to food, kung makikita natin ngayon, the president itself has its program, the 20 kilos rice, and then other mayors with that share of the local government support fund or the LGSF, if I'm not mistaken, binibigay nila yan on a targeted manner, libre para dun sa mga most needed na mga tao. Para at least, kung meron sila matanggap nga karampatang tulong galing sa gobyerno as early as now, yung masisave nila will be diverted in the next coming months para meron pa rin silang capacity to buy. But tama yon, yung agriculture and food, yan yung isa sa focus, kaya yan din yung pinaglalaanan ngayon ng pansin ni Department of Agriculture kasi sila yung main agency looking at that aspect.
Last na lang po. What are the health risks during the El Nino season po, attorney?
Health risks, marami dahil nga hindi mo na complications, di ba? Yung common, heat stroke, pero aside from heat stroke, ano yung mga main trigger, di ba? Mga health-related illnesses. Yung mga allergens, no? Kasi mahilig pa naman tayo ng outdoor activity, tapos pupunta tayo sa mga lugar na ganyan, it could trigger. Meron namang mga pulmonary, mga related na ganyan. And then another thing, based sa naririnig natin, nakikita natin statistics, even PhilHealth monitoring na tumataas talaga yung mga health-related na mga confinements natin or even mga health-related diseases dahil siguro sa change ng klima, di ba? Minsan masyadong malamig sa umaga and then magkakaroon ng init and then yung immune system mo or heavy toll yung katawan natin. So everything will follow, flu and other related. So in short, yung heat or yung El Nino could be a possible direct trigger for a specific illness or pwede rin siya na maging reason to amplify kung ano yung mga pre-existing or comorbidity na meron tayo as an individual. So, ito po yung isa sa challenge sa atin because El Nino will not only affect those mentioned sectors, agriculture, fisher folks, and workers, ambulant, but rather including us. Baka hindi lang natin alam na yung init, kaya tingnan natin yan ng mga sa atin na level. So, yun po ang nakikita natin na health risk na possible with this possible intrusion of El Nino.
Sige po. Thank you po, attorney.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Albert Diano of Pagadian Flash News.
Okay na? Okay, good afternoon, RD and ma'am. Isa po sa tanong ko is itong, we talk about El Nino, isa sa maapektuhan kasi yung mga farmers. And ako as anak pa ng farmer, isa po sa mga worry ng farmer yung hindi makapagtanim. Kasi ilagay natin El Nino. So last few months, meron na nga mga area na merong water shortage kasi mainit, di ba? And also, meron na din mga farms na inaabandon na kasi hindi mataniman. And yung tanong ko po dito is there other alternative na ibibigay yung gobyerno natin no para sa kabuhayan ng mga farmers. And also, ano ba yung pwedeng gagawin ng isang farmers kung sila yung direct hit na naapektuhan ng crisis?
Yeah. Yeah, magandang tanong din yan. At least it will have a tactical or very potent guide. Ganito, the first line of defense possibly sa mga ganyang situation, because that is already a disaster or some sort of crisis, is coordinate with your barangay. And I expect supposedly kung meron lang sapat na capability yung LGU, kung may mga farm technicians sila na umiikot sa mga munisipyo, na monitor na nila yan. Granting, kung hindi natin na monitor yan, the best thing to do is to have that reported in your municipal or city agriculture office, take the data, and then para mabigyan naman ng karampatang intervention, according to Department of Agriculture, dapat nandun tayo nakapaloob sa tinatawag nilang registry, RSBA or RBSA, some sort. RBSA, kasi yun yung magiging basis ng ating agriculture office in tagging ano yung mga immediate na pangailangan. Now, nandun ka na, you invite the attention of the barangay leaders, you invite the attention of the agriculture office para ma-assess nila, because according to the agriculture side ng ating mga partner agencies, they have already provided some interventions on that. Kung too big ang concern, maybe they can lateral coordination with the possible kung saan manggagaling ang source. Kung there will be heat stress, mapunan yung binhi na nawala, no? And practically, for the LGUs, ang pinaka-immediate talaga dyan for the affected communities or farmers or household will be the provision of food and non-food items, kung ano yung pwedeng tulong. Ang challenge na lang ngayon dito sa atin at the level of the farmers is, una, to be included on that registry. Ikalawa, yung aggressive coordination natin sa ating mga local leaders, because somehow, kung magkakaroon ng antayan at our level, though we suppose that government will be reaching to those people, pero dahil nga doon sa laki din ng coverage ng LGU, mas makakatulong na tayo din mismo will be able to take very minimal steps para mapaabot doon sa government and barangay, because barangay is also capacitated to provide that assistance, no? So, yan yung isa sa nakikita natin na very appropriate and very practical approach ng ating mga farmers or fisher folks affected, or as early as now, nagmanifest na yung effect ng El Nino.
Follow-up question, sir. Nabatay laing options kasi dili ba nato nato hisgutan between political. So ang mga tao magud karon, especially kapag dili kaalyado, mostly man nato ang makuha nga mga kining reklamo sa mga katawhan. Pag dili kaalyado sa barangay, dili kaalyado sa LGU, na bay options ang mga tao if ever gusto silang maka-avail sa mga program?
Yeah. While we do respect the political dynamics or the system that is present, na yung nandyan sa mga kabaranggayan natin, munisipyo, syudad, the next thing that pwede natin tingnan is, una, kung we cannot go there directly sa mga areas na or sa mga agencies na supposedly nandun sila para tumulong, we can still avail other services coming from the provincial and satellite offices. So, nandyan naman yan sila. Ang tanong is, kailangan pa bang pumunta? The answer is no, kasi meron naman yan sila mga reachable communication platform. Pwede nating may message, no? Like example, the provincial offices, yung ating mga district or mga satellite offices. So, yan din yung isa na pinoportray namin. But so far naman, in fairness naman sa ating mga agencies, they're very candid as long as meron lang tagang data. And then the next thing you do, the local DRRM offices sa ating mga munisipyo, pwede rin doon kayo magpunta, mag-report na we have some affectations, because they are regularly monitored by the Office of Civil Defense para mag-guide din sila kung saan ma-monitor. And then once nga meron na reported, we will course through that to the Department of Agriculture, and then it will be validated. So, yan po yung arrangement natin. But again I want to emphasize, in this very challenging time, I presume, kasi pareho naman natin yan, elected and appointed, the presumption of regularity of our functions always prevail, and I hope that the treatment na ganito should not be on this very time, kasi El Nino na, lahat kailangan natin tulungan. And I expect, particularly in Zamboanga Peninsula, our leaders are as open as that. So matter of how we communicate na lang. But instance will go that situation, that's the most practical way na pwede natin gawin. No, barangay, kung ayaw sa barangay, munisipyo, city. Kung ayaw, meron tayong mga local government offices na naka-station on that area. They are not directly under the LGU, but they are satellite or representation of offices, no? DSWD, LGOO. So, nandyan po sila para doon sa possible na assistance once na we can communicate effectively.
Okay, thank you so much. Attorney, last na lang ito sa on my end.
Yeah.
Sa ano po, beyond El Nino, ano po yung yung pinaka-common na disaster na laging tumatama sa ating region? And how do OCD balance preparedness across these hazards po? It seems kasi parang daming manpower para to handle all this.
Yeah. Actually, sabi nga natin it's only a matter of timeline. Pero in fairness naman, we are still given the leeway to prepare. Kasi kung matatandaan natin, the most prominent, the malala na medyo malakas na that trigger us is the Typhoon Binta, di ba? Pero after that, ang nare-receive natin dito either shear line, either low pressure area, no, that causes flooding. Notorious talaga sa atin is flooding. We have some reports flooding. Aside ng mga day-to-day na mga sunog na monitor natin. So, on top of El Nino, we are still on that so-called hydrometeorological hazard, no? Bagyo, rain-induced landslides, and then kung meron man tayong lindo last time as high as magnitude 4, hindi naman siya ganun ka-disastrous. Harinawa, wag din na magkaroon kasi sa Office of Civil Defense, we are only handful on that, but the preparedness is very crucial. Kaya ang ginagawa namin, ako practically, because I came from local government unit, ang lagi ko talagang sinasabi, the key of preparedness is una, when people or leaders understand preparedness. Kasi totoo lang yung preparedness kung naiintindihan. Diba? So, the moment you will able to communicate effectively what is preparedness, even at the constituents level, alam nila na kahit yung leader nila hindi gumagawa, kaya nilang i-push. Much more kung yung leader mismo, elected and appointed, aware kung ano yung preparedness. Second is capability of the institution, which is the local government unit. Yung pondo, binaba na sa kanila, meaning hindi na nila kailangan mag-antay para may utilize kasi by law, nandun na eh. Protected pa talaga, hindi mo pwedeng gamitin for other purpose. May threshold pa, which is the 5%, di ba? So, matter of implementation na lang. Kaya nga sabi namin, huwag niyong tipirin kasi kung makakatanggap kayo ng appraise kung tinipid nyo, iba yung 5% ng DRRM. Kapag tinipid nyo to, ang matatanggap natin is regulatory findings from our regulatory agency because the 5% fund of DRRM is intended to be utilized based doon sa hazard. So, kung makikita natin, despite sa handful na number namin, we bank on the readiness of the local government units. We build parallel organization, like for example, the League of Local DRM Officers. We coordinate laterally and vertically sa mga agencies. And syempre, we involve the media for us the risk communication. So, hopefully, mas magagaling na mag-lecture sa akin or mag-disseminate ng balita yung ating mga media colleagues in terms of El Nino, no? So, para marami na rin kami na matanong na sabi nung media ganito, El Nino, bakit umuulan? Kasi dati yan yung nagiging response kapag nagsasabi tayo ng El Nino. Pero dahil nandito tayo ngayon, alam nyo na when you say El Nino, nandiyan pa rin yung pag-ulan, nandiyan pa rin yung pagbagyo. Marami na tayo yung nagsasabi and in unison. So, hopefully, it will also alter, it will change the perspective of our constituents para hindi maging complacent.
Panghuli na lang po, what is your message po or call to action po sa ating public po?
Yeah, my message is always is that una, pagtuunan natin pansin yung intensification ng hazard na meron tayo. Scientists and statistics says na almost majority of the indicators nasa tipping point na tayo. Meaning, when you say tipping point, point of no return. Ang meron na tayo ngayon is the intensification of hazard. So, hindi na natin mababalik yung mga dati na sinasabi natin na kapag ganitong panahon, ito yung i-expect natin. Ngayon, very erratic na siya. And we are continuously evolving. So, the key here is what? Dapat mag-evolve yung ating preparedness. Hindi na pwedeng magiging reason lagi dahil nasa typhoon belt, nasa Pacific Ring of Fire tayo, dinadaanan tayo ng bagyo, madalas yung El Nino. No, that is not supposed to be the reasoning because alam na natin yan. Ang ginagawa natin ngayon, particularly at the level of the local government unit, kung ano yung paraan para mapataas natin yung ating preparedness. And preparedness always starts with openly understanding what is disaster, what is crisis, what is hazard, yung ating institutional capability, local DRM offices, pagkakaroon ng tao na nakafocus para dun sa ganyang mga trabaho. And then also, we need to discern already. We need to go down at the barangay level. Kasi kung sa munisipyo or city or sa probinsya lang lahat ito, mabibilaukan. No? It will be a choke point on the part of the LGUs, particularly at the city, municipal, and province. So, what we need to do now is to capacitate our barangay. No? And sa barangay naman natin, our barangay leaders, appointed and elected, kailangan na talaga natin i-maximize yan because at the end of the day, ang unang kakatukin, ang unang hihingaan ng tulong na ating mga constituents is kayo. So hopefully, we able to convey that message because on the part of the Office of Civil Defense, yung effectiveness ng aming capacity, yung effectiveness or galing ng aming opisina, be it in the augmentation manner, we're only as good kung gaano ka-prepare. So, kung hindi prepare yung LGU, hindi magiging augmentation yung magagawa namin, but rather, more on the first respond. Pero kung capable yung LGU, yung capability ng OCD or other agency in the Regional DRM Council will also capacitate and enhance to avoid or if not mitigate the impact of disaster.
Okay, well said. Daghang salamat sa imuha, attorney. Thank you for taking your time out to share vital information to our public. Once again, OCD Regional Director Attorney Ruel Halanes. Daghang salamat. And of course, thank you to our media friends and sa ating PIA technical team. Maraming salamat. Muchas gracias. Magsukul kanyo katan sa ngalan ni PCO Secretary Dave Gomez and Philippine Information Agency Director General Catherine Chloe De Castro. Ito po si Jocelyn Alvarez na nagsasabing maraming salamat. Kita-kita muli sa susunod na episode ng Kapihan sa Rio 9.